The guidance counselor in aisle 9. Picture this: it's a crisp Saturday morning in mid-October, the kind of day in suburban Cincinnati where the air smells like fallen leaves and wood smoke, and the parking lot at the big Kroger on Montgomery Road is already half full by 9:30. You push through those automatic doors, greeted by the familiar hum of fluorescent lights, the soft beep of scanners, the distant call for a price check on produce, and that warm wave of bakery cinnamon drifting from the front. Most people are here on autopilot, grabbing milk, eggs, bread, the weekly list scribbled on a scrap of paper or typed into a phone. But for one man that morning, a simple trip for a few groceries was about to become the moment he had waited 40 years to have without even knowing it. Richard Harlan, Rick to everyone who knew him, pushed his cart slowly down aisle 9, the soup and canned goods section. At 57, he still had the broad shoulders of the mechanic he once was, though the years and grief had softened the edges a little. 3 years earlier, his wife Ellen had slipped away after a long fight with breast cancer, leaving the big colonial house on Maple Lane too quiet, the workshop in the garage gathering dust, and Rick wondering what exactly he was supposed to do with the rest of his life. He had sold the chain of 3 auto parts stores he built from nothing back in the 90s, the money was comfortable, the kids were grown and scattered, his son in Seattle with a family of his own, his daughter in Atlanta chasing a corporate career. They called on Sundays, sent photos of the grandkids, but the calls always ended too soon. Rick told himself he was fine. He wasn't. That morning he had come to the store mostly to get out of the house. The doctor had put him on blood pressure medication the week before, gently suggesting he take it easy and maybe walk more. So here he was, reaching for a can of chicken noodle soup, Ellen's favorite when she wasn't feeling well, when he heard a soft clatter and a small, frustrated sigh just 2 shelves over. An elderly woman in a light blue cardigan and sensible flats was trying to maneuver a 20-pound bag of long-grain rice from the bottom shelf into her cart. The bag slipped, hit the linoleum with a dull thud, and a few grains scattered like tiny confetti. Her hands trembled slightly as she bent to retrieve it, arthritis, probably, or just the weight of 81 years. Rick didn't think twice. He stepped over, knelt, and lifted the bag easily into her cart. "There you go, ma'am," he said with the easy Midwestern politeness that never quite left him. She straightened slowly, one hand on the cart handle for balance, and gave him a warm, crinkled smile. "Bless your heart, young man. These shelves get lower every year, don't they?" They both chuckled, the small, shared laugh of strangers who understand life's little indignities. She thanked him again and moved on toward the end of the aisle, her cart rolling with that soft, rhythmic squeak. Rick continued shopping, but something about her stayed with him. The way she carried herself, dignified, unhurried, refusing to be rushed or diminished by the years. He saw her again in the dairy section a few minutes later. She was on her tiptoes, reaching for a gallon of 2% milk on the top back shelf, her shoulder clearly stiff. The carton was just out of reach. He stepped up beside her. "Let me get that for you." She accepted with a grateful nod. "Thank you. These refrigerators weren't built for short old ladies." This time they talked a little longer. She mentioned the price of milk had gone up again, joked that she remembered when a gallon cost under $1. Rick laughed and said he remembered the same. She had a gentle southern lilt that had softened over decades in Ohio, back when dinosaurs roamed the hallways, she said with a twinkle when he asked if she was from around here originally. She told him she used to be a high school guidance counselor. "Retired 20 years now, but the kids still feel like mine." Rick felt a strange tug in his chest but didn't know why. He wished her a good day and continued on. The real moment came at the checkout. Rick was 3 carts back in the express lane. Ahead of him, the same woman, Mrs. Lillian Caldwell, though he didn't know her name yet, was at register 6. The cashier, a young woman with a name tag that read, Kayla, was scanning items slowly while Mrs. Caldwell sorted through a small stack of coupons. The total came to $47.82. Mrs. Caldwell opened her old leather wallet, counted out bills and change, then paused. "I'm short $1 and change," she said quietly. "The blueberries didn't scan right on the coupon, and the bread. I'll just put those back." Kayla looked sympathetic but uncertain. Mrs. Caldwell's cart held only the essentials: a small package of chicken thighs, oatmeal, bananas, a loaf of store-brand white bread, canned tuna, a half-gallon of milk, toilet paper, dish soap. Nothing frivolous. She began to hand back the blueberries and the nicer whole-wheat bread she had added as a small treat. Rick watched from behind, heart sinking in a way he hadn't felt in years. He stepped forward. "Ma'am," he said gently to Kayla, "put everything on my ticket." Including what she was going to put back. Mrs. Caldwell turned, startled. "Oh no, I couldn't possibly." "Please," Rick said. "It's my pleasure. I've had days like that too." She studied his face for a long moment, then her eyes widened just slightly. Something flickered there: recognition, memory, disbelief. Outside in the parking lot, the October sun was bright but cool. Rick carried both sets of bags to her old silver Toyota Corolla. She unlocked the trunk with shaking hands. As he set the last bag down, she touched his arm lightly. "Young man, may I ask your name?" "Rick Harlan," he said. Her breath caught. "Rick Harlan, from Lincoln High. Class of '87? The world narrowed to just the two of them standing between their cars. Rick stared. "Mrs. Caldwell?" She nodded, tears already gathering. "My mechanic boy." They stood there in the parking lot for what felt like forever, though it was only minutes. Cars passed slowly, leaves skittered across the asphalt, but neither noticed. Rick spoke first, voice rough. "I never thanked you properly. You stayed late for me, 3 afternoons a week. You helped with applications, drove me to that first interview in your Buick when my mom's car broke down. You told me I had good hands and a good heart. Those words, they carried me through every hard day." Mrs. Caldwell wiped her eyes with the sleeve of her cardigan. "I always wondered what happened to you. You were so angry back then, but I could see the light in you." Rick told her about the auto parts stores, about Ellen, about the kids who called but never quite came home. He told her how empty the house felt now, how he sometimes sat in the garage with the lights off just to feel less alone. She listened the way she always had, without interrupting, without judgment. Then she told him her side. Widowed 12 years. 2 grown children who lived across the country and visited twice a year if they could manage it. Arthritis in both hips that made walking painful some days. The roof on her little ranch house leaked in heavy rain. She couldn't afford the repair and was terrified of losing the home she and her husband had paid off together. She still volunteered at the library once a week, reading to children, because it kept her connected to the world. "I promised myself I'd never be a burden," she said softly. "But it gets harder." Rick helped her into the driver's seat, then knelt so they were eye level. "You were never a burden to me. You were the reason I made it. Let me be that for you now. Not out of pity, out of gratitude. It's never too late, right?" Over the next few weeks, Rick moved quietly but deliberately. He arranged for a local roofing company, friends from his old business days, to fix her roof and gutters at no charge to her. He covered it without her knowing the full amount. He set up a monthly grocery delivery through the store service, prepaid for a year so she would never have to worry about running short again. He found a retired nurse who lived nearby and hired her for light housekeeping twice a week, cleaning, laundry, companionship, framing it as a community program so Mrs. Caldwell's pride wouldn't stop her from accepting. But the most meaningful thing he did was start volunteering at the local vocational high school one morning a week. He taught basic auto mechanics to juniors and seniors, how to change oil, diagnose brakes, the simple satisfaction of fixing something with your hands. One Saturday he invited Mrs. Caldwell to come sit in. She watched from a folding chair in the back, smiling as the kids listened to him the way he once listened to her. After class, a shy 16-year-old boy came up to her. "Ma'am, Mr. Harlan said you're the one who believed in him when nobody else did." "That's pretty cool." Mrs. Caldwell patted the boy's arm. "He believed in himself. I just reminded him." Rick finally booked flights to Seattle and Atlanta. He sat his son and daughter down over dinner and told them the whole story: the angry kid in high school, the counselor who never gave up, the chance meeting in aisle 9. For the first time in years, the conversations went longer. The grandkid started FaceTiming more. His daughter even said, "Dad, you sound lighter." Kindness, Rick realized, isn't always a grand gesture. Sometimes it's staying late in a guidance office in 1987. Sometimes it's slipping a few extra items into a stranger's cart in 2025. Sometimes it's simply remembering a face, a name, a moment when someone saw the best in you, and deciding, decades later, to return the favor. The people who shape us when we're young don't stop mattering when we grow older. They wait quietly, in grocery aisles, in parking lots, in the small corners of memory, until we're ready to notice them again. And when we do, the chain keeps moving. One quiet thank you becomes 2, becomes 10, becomes a lifetime of small lights in a world that sometimes feels too dark. If this story moved you today, if it reminded you of a teacher, a coach, a neighbor, or even a stranger who once believed in you when you couldn't believe in yourself, please hit that like button. It helps stories like this reach more people who need to hear them. And if you'd like more tales of ordinary kindness that change everything, subscribe and turn on notifications. We share one every week. Because it's never too late to say thank you. Or to become someone else's reason to keep going. Go be that person today. Someone's waiting in aisle 9. Thank you for listening.